female servants. Now I'm sending this message to my Lord, that I may find favor in your eyes. When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, we went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. So Esau also was coming from the other side, from Canaan, to meet his brother Jacob. In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into 2 groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. So, I have a question. Why do you think Jacob was afraid to meet Esau? Yes, Luca.
Because he wants to kill
Jacob. Yeah, so the time Jacob ran away, you remember when his mother told him to escape, Esau had plotted to kill Jacob. So Jacob is going back with fear, because he has stayed for more than, we counted 14 plus 6 years. 14 years that he worked for Leah and Rachel, 7 each, and 6 years that he worked for the flock, to cater for the flock and herds of Laban. So he's afraid to return back to Esau. Hajui kama Esau amemsamehea ama amesahau, or he still has the grudge in his heart. So he has divided the flocks that he had and the people he had into 2. Last week on Genesis chapter 31, we remember we saw that he had gained a lot of wealth. He was now prosperous. He had a lot of servants. So Woga, because his servants went ahead of him, his messenger, and came back and told him Esau was coming with 400 men. So he thought maybe there might be war. With fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into 2 groups. So let's read through and see what happens. He thought if Esau comes, verse 8, he thought if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then Jacob prayed, O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper. I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed this Jordan, but now I have become 2 camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children. But you have said, I will surely make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted. Verse 13, he spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds. He instructed the one in the lead, when my brother Esau meets you and asks, who do you belong to and where are you going, and who owns all the animals in front of you? Then you are to say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us. So, hii ni kama ya kucalm Esau's heart, right? Jacob is sending them on his way so that akiona all these things. There are a lot of kettles, camels, female sheep, rams, amezituma, a lot of them. You can imagine 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. So I think Jacob, being in distress, alifikiria if he sends this before him, if Esau is to see this, maybe it might soften his heart. So verse 17, he instructed the, sorry, verse 18. No, verse 19, read up to 18. Verse 19, he also instructed the second, the third, and all the others who followed the herds. You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him, and be sure to say, your servant Jacob is coming behind us. For he thought, I will pacify him with these gifts I am sending on ahead. So, pacify. Ni kama ya ku calm his heart, to soften him, so that when they meet after amempea hizi gifts zote, he might at least be able to feel pity or have a warm heart to receive his brother Jacob. So verse 21, so Jacob's gift went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. So I'll give you a short summary. Verse 1, the angels of God, we've seen the angels of God met Jacob on his way back to Canaan. You remember last week we left it at Laban and Jacob coming into peace. They made a pillar. They also agreed Laban is not to cross to Jacob's side. Jacob is also not to cross to Laban's side. Jacob is also not, Laban also instructed Jacob not to marry any other wives. You remember that? So the angels of God met Jacob on his way back to Canaan, and he named that place Mahanaim. Verse 3 to 6, we've seen Jacob sent men ahead of him to notify Esau that he was on his way with plenty of livestock. The messengers returned to Jacob and notified him that Esau was on his way with 400 men. So verse 7, we've seen Jacob being in great fear and distress. So Jacob reacted, and his reaction was to divide the people and the flocks he had into two. So my question was, how often do we react based on fear? You remember the Lord had already spoken to him before, even when he had his dream on his way to Laban. The Lord told him that wherever he shall be with him. He shall bless him, he shall prosper him. We've seen some of these blessings coming into life, because he has already blessed him with offsprings, he has prospered him. Amekuwa wealthy with the livestock that he got from Laban as his wage. So still, he has some fear in him. And I also want you to ask yourself this morning, how often do you react based on fear? Uoga too. I think we should all replace fear with faith. Whatever God has said, we agreed that in due time he always fulfills. So instead of having fear, because fear brings you bring a lot of scenarios in your head with fear. Because fear is the thing that has made Jacob forget all the things that God promised him, and instead ameamua take things on his hands because of the great fear and distress he had. So we want God to guide us and give us signs. We've seen Jacob had a lot of signs. He had all the signs because God had spoken to him. Yet he still had fear. Even us as human beings, we get into scenarios or situations and we tell God, please show me a sign. Show me if this is the way that I'm supposed to follow. But instead, we are supposed to have faith and let him lead us in everything we do. So we should always replace fear with faith. Okay? So we've seen Jacob reacted by dividing the group into two, then he prayed to God. Instead, we are supposed to pray, then react. When you pray, you seek God's guidance. So he will show you a way that you're supposed to follow. You're not supposed to react fast out of fear and then seek God's way. So verse 9, Jacob cried out to God. And it is also okay to do that. It's okay to cry to God when you feel like umefika mwisho, or you're full of anxiety or fear. It's okay to cry to God. He also thanked God for blessing him and admits that he was afraid. So he has admitted to God through prayer that he's afraid. And the Bible tells us his power is made perfect in our weakness. So when we